Good moed. So I figured the COVID Pesach we'll learn a little bit of the Kedushas Levi. He has different drushim Pesach. So we'll learn a few terms from the Kedushas Levi. So it says Baruch Hu Shekadosh Baruch Hu Chishav is the case last is Kamosha Namar. We have in the Haggadah it says blessed is he, because the Holy One blessed be he calculated the end of the slavery in order to fill that which is stated here. So the Kedushas Levi brings like this. He needs a Midrash. It's cited in a Midrash. Sar shel Mitzrayim ton lama lo yahaya b'gola shel Mitzrayim kasher nigzer leihem. B'emes nechsa kates shonim. Midrash says that we know from the book of Daniel in the Bible that each of the nations of the world has what's called a sar, a prince. This means a heavenly prince, an angel that represents this nation in the heavenly court. It's kind of like a heavenly League of Nations, and they're just as bad as the real League of Nations or United Nations. They're certainly not united, and neither are really the United Nations, but they each have. It's basically like an ambassador for that nation in the heavenly court, in the heavenly realm. So, in Daniel we hear it's the Sarparas, the prince of Persia, and each of the 70 nations has a prince, has a Sar, an angelic representative, and so the Sar of Mitzrayim, the angelic representative of Egypt, brought an argument to God that said the Jews, the Hebrews in Egypt, they didn't fulfill the decree. They were supposed to have 400 years, and 190 years were missing. They were only in Egypt for 210 years. And the word kates, Chishav is the kates, he calculated the kates, the end. The word kates is 190. Every letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value. So what answer could be given to the prince of Egypt, the angel of Egypt? The answer is that God let the patriarchs know about the exile. And the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, themselves felt the pain of their descendants suffering in exile. The pain of their children. And since they experienced that pain, that was already considered as if they were exiled, because they felt their pain. And so that was fulfilling the 190 years that the patriarchs lived, knowing that they would have these other years. Meaning that the 190 years from when Isaac was born until they started to be enslaved, that was already considered to be exile. And that's what it means that he calculated and counted the kates, meaning the patriarchs, they weren't the whole time in exile. Jacob was in exile for a while, and Abraham was in exile for a while. Physically, they were not in exile. But mentally, just the thought of their children being slaves caused them pain. And so that was considered as if they were actually in exile. And that's what means Chishav is a kates, that he counted the 190 years, the end, meaning the 190 years that was missing. That's the pain that the patriarchs suffered because they even thought about the exile. Lasos, to do, Chishav l'siya kilu haya b'golos mamish. That this Chishav, this word Chishav is also related to the word Choshav, machshava, thought, that the thought of exile was Chishav as a kates, the thought during the kates, the 190, lasos, it was brought into Olam Osiyah. That it was as if they were actually physically in Galus and in exile, and that was enough. And that shows us that Galus is not a physical manifestation alone. It's spiritual and mental as well. And so that's why a lot of people ask, they say, but how were they able to leave? That was the answer.